I made a video 2 days ago about the idea of starting a multi-graft project, and then this morning, as I'm cleaning up from this ridiculous amount of snow that we just got, I realized I should actually take a step back and almost provide a prequel of what happened in the past that inspired me to want to try again to explore the multi-graft idea. And so what I thought I would do is I'd spend a little time and make a review of some attempts at multi-grafting that I've done in the past, or cleft grafting. And so I'm going to go over these shoots and talk a little bit in detail about what happened there and what worked and what didn't. So stick around. So when Sasha and I met, this was back in 2013, I remember early on, you can see there's a lump of snow here. There was about a 1.5 foot diameter tree. It was a ornamental crab apple that went all the way up and was completely ripped apart, broken by the snow, really a mess, and threatening to crush cars that parked here. So we cut it down together, and that was in 2013, 2014. It sent up a ton of shoots. You can see here's one, there's some over here, of which I managed to kind of keep in check. And a few of them in 2016, my good friend Akiva came over from Twisted Tree Nursery, who I talk about all the time, and he showed me this system. And what you can see happen is we went through and cut all of these stump sprouts down to a manageable height, basically above the snow line and above where rabbits would browse. We don't really have deer here. And what we did is cleft graft in. Now, for those of you that have done grafting before, this isn't that amazing. But for those of you that haven't, if you can imagine, right here, it transitions from an ornamental crab apple. In fact, this is the real old budding tape, the old tape that was used here. And from here onward is 2 years of growth of an incredible apple. I think this variety is, let me take a quick look, Kingston Black. So this was done April 11th, 2016. And so it's a really amazing cider apple. I believe this one is Macoun. Here's your graft point, and here is the growth of these two within 2 growing seasons. Oh yeah, 10 feet tall, maybe taller. I need to start shaping them. And so here's the beautiful part. In 2 years, not only did these grafts take, but they also, in the process of me coming through, bear with me, snow is so deep, coming through and starting to do some shaping and pruning, I'm going to be able to get scion wood that I can graft onto other ornamental trees or graft onto actual rootstock. Hey Sasha! I'm blabbing about grafting and she's working. We take turns. But anyway, so the idea of that bigger tree is similar in that what will happen is the cuts that were made, those big rounds, will send up new shoots, and within a year or so, they will be about this diameter, the shoots that come off, and I'll be able to graft onto those. These were a little bit larger when we cut in, so in this case the branch was cut, a little split was made with a sharp knife, and the scion wood was slipped in. So this was a cleft graft, and that took just fine. And here we are 2 years later with all these. Now some of them didn't work. In part, I think I did a poor job of grafting. So you can see, here's one that failed, and here's one that failed. But the beautiful part is that I can clean up this cut and then try it again on this piece, try it again on this one, right? And try it there, and there, and there, and there, and basically just keep grafting each year until this whole set is completely loaded with higher value trees. So this is going to be a cider patch. Kingston Black, Macoun, a couple other varieties that should be really nice for cider. So here's a more complex multi-graft, and well, you can see the pallet shed right here next to our driveway. So pallet shed is to the south of this, and so in this case we basically pollarded. This is again an ornamental flowering apple, and we pollarded it up high in part so that the new growth had as much sun access as it needed to grow well. And what happened here, so you can see this is again April of 2 years ago. All of these cuts And these are the shoots that came out of it in 2016 and 2017. But in 2016, I found a handful. Good morning. A handful of shoots that matched what we needed, and we cleft graft directly onto them. I might run out of batteries here, so let me pause for a second. And take it as a sign that the phone nearly ran out of batteries, that I was making this video too long. So let me wrap it up here and just suggest that this is a future image of what that multi-graft tree will hopefully be, with separate, really happy varieties of cultivar apples. And in this case, 1, 2, 3, and 4 worked really well, and we've been managing the regrowth so that this spring, once the buds start to swell in April again, we can graft over the rest of this. And then I'll make a map of who this tree is, and not only will it provide us beautiful cider apples of a bunch of different varieties, but also, in some ways more importantly, lots of really excellent scion wood to graft more trees. So it's kind of like a nursery, like a library of named cultivar apples on what was just an ornamental apple. In our backyard here, you can see who is most likely the great-grandmother of all these apples. It's one of the most beautiful ornamental apples I've ever seen, and we absolutely would never cut this down. It's funny, early on I thought, oh, let me cut this down, I'm going to graft it over to all these different things. But it provides beautiful shade to us in the summer, and tons of food in the form of these tiny apples to the birds all winter. And it's just a beautiful being, and it's been here for so long. I don't know that I've seen too many apples that big around, so it's a really great genetic package in this being. And all those apples in the front that we grafted over are most likely children of her, and then all over the place, each year there's more and more and more. There are seedlings of her lineage coming up, and since there's one really huge one, and we're only a half acre here, all of these will be able to get grafted over. So she's basically just pumping out rootstocks all over this landscape, and we're leaving them and we'll graft them over. There's about 50 in the chicken yard. So thank you, great-grandma, and for letting us mess around with your kids. But she's here and doing really well, and we'll take care of the weird new beings we put onto her kids. Strange way to end the video, but that's grafting.